What if a poor village girl could change the heart of a lonely prince forever? One lived inside a golden palace filled with luxury, while the other struggled every day just to survive. But when fate brought them together near a quiet riverside village, something unbelievable began to happen. A secret friendship turned into love, a kingdom stood against them, and a powerful king tried to separate them forever. Yet the biggest surprise was still waiting ahead. This emotional story will show you that true royalty is not about crowns or wealth. It is about the purity of the heart. Watch till the end. A cold wind blew through the royal palace as the young prince stood near the giant window, staring at the sleeping city below. Gold, power, servants, he had everything people dreamed of. Yet deep inside, he felt completely empty. Every smile around him looked fake. Every friendship seemed bought. And on that very night, he had no idea that a poor village girl would soon change his life forever and teach him a lesson no king could ever teach. The prince's name was Ayaan. He was the only son of the king, raised in luxury since childhood. Servants followed him everywhere. Soldiers protected every step he took. But despite living in a magnificent palace, Ayaan hated the loneliness surrounding him. One evening, tired of palace life, he decided to leave secretly and walk through the city disguised as an ordinary man. He wore simple clothes, covered his face with a scarf, and slipped out quietly while the guards slept. The city looked completely different at night. Small shops glowed under lantern lights. Street vendors shouted happily. Poor families sat together eating simple food while laughing from the heart. For the first time, Ayaan noticed something strange. The poor looked happier than the rich. As he wandered farther away from the royal area, he reached a small village near the river. There he saw a young girl carrying heavy buckets of water. Her clothes were old and dusty, yet her face carried peace and kindness. The prince stopped. The girl accidentally dropped one bucket when she saw him standing nearby. "Oh no," she whispered nervously. Ayaan quickly helped her pick it up. "Thank you," she said softly. Her name was Zoya. She lived with her sick mother in a tiny broken house near the riverbank. Every day, she worked from morning till night to earn enough bread for both of them. Ayaan had never seen such hardship so closely before. Yet what shocked him most was this. Despite being poor, Zoya never complained. The next day, Ayaan returned to the village again. Then again the next evening. Slowly, he and Zoya became friends. She believed he was just a traveler searching for work in the city. Together they sat near the river, talked under the moonlight, and shared stories about life. Zoya spoke honestly, while everyone in the palace always hid behind lies and formalities. One night, Ayaan asked her, "If you had riches, servants, and a palace, would you finally be happy?" Zoya smiled gently. "Happiness doesn't live in palaces," she replied. "It lives in the heart." Those words hit the prince deeply. Days passed, and Ayaan began changing. He became kinder, calmer, and more thoughtful. For the first time in years, he truly smiled. But happiness never stays hidden for long. One evening, palace soldiers finally discovered the prince's secret visits. They followed him to the village and revealed his true identity in front of everyone. The villagers froze in fear. Zoya stepped back in shock. "You are the prince?" Ayaan nodded silently. Tears filled Zoya's eyes. "Why did you lie to me?" "I didn't want you to treat me like a prince," he answered honestly. "I wanted someone to see me as a human being." Before Zoya could respond, the royal guards forced Ayaan back to the palace. The king was furious. "You are the future ruler," the king shouted, "and you spend your time with a poor village girl?" Ayaan tried explaining, but the king refused to listen. "You will never see her again." Meanwhile, life became even harder for Zoya. The villagers began gossiping about her. Some accused her of trying to trap the prince for wealth. Others mocked her poverty. Heartbroken, Zoya stopped going near the river. Days turned into weeks. Inside the palace, Ayaan felt trapped once again. Expensive meals tasted bitter. Music sounded empty. The palace that once looked beautiful now felt like a prison. Then one stormy night, a royal servant rushed into the prince's room. "The poor girl from the village, her mother is dying." Without thinking twice, Ayaan escaped the palace again and rode through the heavy rain toward the village. When he arrived, he found Zoya crying beside her sick mother. The small house leaked rainwater from the roof. There was almost no food inside. Ayaan immediately called royal doctors and arranged medicine for her mother. For the first time, Zoya realized that despite his royal status, Ayaan truly cared from his heart. Her mother slowly recovered. But the king soon learned about the prince's actions once again. This time, his anger became dangerous. "You are blinded by emotions," the king thundered. "A prince cannot marry a poor girl." The entire royal court agreed with him. Ministers laughed at the idea of a village girl becoming royal family. But Ayaan stood firm. "You taught me how to rule a kingdom," he told his father. "But Zoya taught me how to be human." Silence filled the royal court. The king stared at his son with disappointment. Finally, he made a cruel decision. "If that girl truly loves you," he declared, "then let her prove herself worthy." The king announced a challenge across the kingdom. Zoya would be tested in wisdom, kindness, and courage. If she failed, she would never see the prince again. People from all over the kingdom gathered to watch. The first test was wisdom. Royal scholars asked impossible questions meant to embarrass her. One scholar mocked her and asked, "What is more valuable than gold?" Zoya calmly answered, "A pure heart. Gold can buy servants, but never true love." The crowd fell silent. The second test was kindness. The king secretly placed hungry beggars along the road, where Zoya walked toward the palace. Though she herself had little food, she shared everything she carried with them. The third test was courage. A dangerous horse was released into the royal ground. Soldiers failed to calm it down. People screamed and ran away. But Zoya slowly approached the frightened animal. Instead of fear, she showed compassion. Within moments, the horse became calm. The crowd erupted in shock. For the first time, the king himself looked speechless. That night, the old king walked alone through the palace gardens, thinking deeply about everything he had seen. Zoya had no riches, no royal blood, no expensive clothes. Yet she possessed qualities many royals lacked: kindness, patience, honesty, courage. The next morning, the king called Ayaan and Zoya into the royal court. Everyone waited nervously. The king slowly stood from his throne. "All my life," he said, "I believed greatness came from bloodlines and wealth. But today, I learned true greatness comes from character." Ayaan looked at Zoya with hope in his eyes. The king smiled faintly. "You have my blessing." The entire court gasped. Soon, preparations for the royal wedding began across the kingdom. But unlike other royal celebrations filled only with luxury, this wedding became known for something different. The poor were invited first. Food was distributed to villages. Orphans received clothes and gifts. And on the wedding day, Prince Ayaan stood beside the same poor girl who once carried water buckets near the river. Only now, she stood beside him as the future queen. As fireworks lit the night sky, Ayaan whispered softly to Zoya, "You gave me something no palace ever could." Zoya smiled. And what was that? A real heart. And from that day forward, the prince who once felt lonely ruled the kingdom with kindness, while the poor girl who once struggled for bread became beloved by the entire nation. Because in the end, true royalty is not decided by wealth, crowns, or blood. It is decided by the goodness inside a person's heart. If you like this story, subscribe to our channel Hikayat Hub, press the bell icon, and don't forget to like and share the video. Thank you for your support.